Welcome back to the Demon Slayer Gaming Channel. We're going to be continuing our Final Fantasy XIV Dungeon Guide series today. And we're going to be taking a look at the first of the Alliance raids in A Realm Reborn, the Labyrinth of the Ancients. Now, most of the mechanics in this dungeon are going to be pretty much ignored due to how outdated the dungeon is. But no matter what your role is, there is a few mechanics that you'll want to keep an eye out for. I do recommend, though, if it's your first time in here, this is a Alliance raid which consists of 24 people. So there is 2 other groups in here, meaning there is at least 2 other tanks, there's 4 other healers, and plenty of other DPS. So if you don't feel comfortable, let one of the other tanks take the primary role. But starting off in this raid, you'll hit proceed up these stairs and proceed to the left, which will bring you to a couple packets of enemies. Now when you pick these enemies up, you'll want to tank them on top of the green platforms, as after a certain amount of time has passed, the lower portion of the area will fill with poison, and you'll just gather all of these units up and AoE them down. The Valfors do have frontal AoEs and cone AoEs behind them, so if you can face them away from the group, then that's fine, but the damage isn't too insane. For the second set, you'll again just pick all of them up and tank them on top of the green platform. The Valors are all spellcasters, so they're kind of annoying to group up, but the greater demons will usually come to you. The greater demons do have a knockback effect, so you can use knockback prevention while fighting them to prevent this. Then for the third set, you'll yet again pick up the adds and tank them on top of the larger platforms. They do have frontal AoEs, so try to make sure you're facing them away from the group, as there's quite a few of them this time, so the accumulation of AoEs can kill some of the DPS if they're not paying attention. But in general, just always try to face enemies away from the rest of the group. For the first boss, you'll have the Bone Dragon. As a tank, you'll want to pick him up and move to the second platform behind him. This will put the Bone Dragon in between the second and first platform, so all melee DPS and off tanks should be on the first platform, with all ranged DPS usually in the center circular one. Everyone will want to just focus down the boss while ignoring the adds, and then once the boss is dead, you can try to AoE down the adds before they reach the boss's corpse. Any that were killed previously will also resurrect at this time and begin making their way towards the boss's corpse. Any of the adds that were alive or the ones that resurrect that reach the boss's corpse will cause party-wide damage, so you do want to try to kill a few of them, otherwise the party-wide damage can end up wiping the entire group. But if the healers shield the group and there is damage reduction used at all, usually the group will survive and it's not a big deal. After all the adds run to the boss's corpse or die, then the Bone Dragon will resurrect, and you'll have to go through the exact same phase that you just had. When the adds die for a second time, then the Bone Dragon will resurrect one more time, summoning Rotting Eyes that should be picked up by the off tanks. And you'll just want to burn the Bone Dragon down, because whenever he dies for the third time, the fight ends. He can cast Evil Eye, which is a frontal cone AoE, but it is interruptible and it's very easy to move out of also. After this, you'll take the shortcut back to the front of the dungeon, and then proceed to the right. The next section will have 3 different pathways that are usually divided from left to right for group A, B, and C. There will usually always be someone who marks them for any new players, but if you are unsure and nobody does, group A will always go to the left, group B in the middle, and group C on the right. You'll want to proceed in and stop as soon as you pass the purple border. Otherwise, you will begin the fight before people are all the way in. And if they have to teleport by the area being shut off, then it will automatically teleport them to group A, no matter which group they are in, causing the groups to be imbalanced. For this section, you'll want your 2 healers and 2 ranged DPS standing on the pad in the back. You need to have at least 4 people on this pad, so that the add of the corresponding color in the other group's area can be damaged. As the tank, you'll want to pick up any adds that spawn and bring them back to the ranged people that are on the pad, so they have something to do and they're not just standing there. Otherwise, they're too far out of range to actually damage the ad. Make sure you don't leave the platform until the ad in the corresponding area is destroyed. Otherwise, they won't be able to damage it. Proceeding into the second boss, you are only able to damage the boss if you have the ethereal debuff. This debuff will transition from Group A to Group B to Group C. But when the fight starts off, Group A will start killing the boss, while Group B and C kind of just stand around. Shortly into the fight, Nemesis ads will spawn that you'll want to just focus down if you're in Group B and C, along with Sandmen that will slowly be transitioning their way towards the magic pots on the outside. You just want to kill these as quick as possible. Thanatos does have a interruptible AoE that the tank and any ranged DPS will want to keep an eye on and just interrupt this when he starts casting it. After about 30 seconds into the fight, Group B will then receive the debuff. Group A will keep it for another 10 seconds or so, so at this time Group A and B should be focusing down Thanatos while Group C just finishes killing any ads. And most likely Thanatos will be dead by the time that 10-second window is done. At that time, you'll just take the shortcut back to the entrance yet again and proceed straight forward into the third area. In this area, the groups will be split into their respective parties yet again, and it will all proceed from left to right just like before, with Group A taking the leftmost ad, Group B taking the one in the back, and Group C taking the one on the right. You can proceed pretty close to these ads before they will actually aggro, so Group B can go stand behind the Allagan bomb and position itself before the actual pool. You'll want to keep these ads separated, and as you kill the Vasagos, any other ads that spawn, there will be two different types of bombs. You should switch DPS to these ads and kill them as quick as possible. Now the Vasagos can cast Desolation, which is going to do a line AoE across the platform. It is very easy to move out of though. Once all three Vasagos are dead, then the Allagan bomb in the center of the platform will become targetable, and you can target it and focus it down. That'll allow you access to the third boss. Now the third boss is going to be King Behemoth, and along with the main tank picking up King Behemoth, there will be a secondary job for an off tank in this fight. Shortly in, the Iron Giant will spawn, and one of the off tanks will want to pick this up and tank it away from the rest of the group, as it has frontal cone AoEs that you don't want cleaving the group. Shortly into the fight, there will be several party members who receive a green marker above their head. This will drop a comment on these members shortly afterwards. You'll want to make sure that you move so that you're not inside of the King Behemoth's targeting circle, so that you do not drop the comment in his radius. If the comet is too close to the boss, then standing behind it to save yourself from the ecliptic meteor will still damage you. After the King Behemoth is dead, then there will be a shortcut scene before you can access the shortcut to take you back to the entrance yet again. This time, after using this shortcut, then you will just walk into the hole in the center of the platform and be teleported to the final area. For the final boss, there is yet again another mechanic that you will be splitting into your respective parties for Group A, B, and C, with Group A being on the left, Group B being in the middle, and Group C being on the right. Usually Group B's tank will pick up the boss and pull it close to the pad in the front of the platform and tank the boss there. Anytime the boss moves from this position and back to the center of the platform, he'll begin casting a one-shot ability that these groups will need to get to their respective pads on the left, center, and right so that you can activate a shield that will save you from this ability. Now, the boss does have several abilities that he will throw out throughout the entire fight that do AoEs all around him, but the damage from these is not very large and can be easily healed through. When he moves back to the center of the platform yet again, and begins casting Ancient Flare one more time, you'll move back to your respective platforms to charge the shield. If you do not charge the shield fast enough by having enough party members from each group on the platforms, then it will instantly kill the group. So make sure anytime that you see him move to the center or begin casting Elegant Flare that you quickly position back to the outsides of the platform. And this should be it for the Labyrinth of the Ancients. I hope this helped everyone out. If it did, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you on the next one.